Starting this week, Floridians who are registered to vote can head to a precinct of their choice and cast their ballot. But what happens to your vote after you turn in this paper? Well, it depends on how you vote. There are two ways to vote: by going in person to one of your approved voting centers or by mailing in your vote. Regardless of which option you choose, Florida Supervisor of Elections Office wants you to know that all voting in the state is done by paper ballots unless you have a disability. That means that once you complete your ballot and it's turned into a polling place or mailed in, it will run through a device known as a tabulator. It scans or reads the choices you made on your ballot and tallies your results. But what happens if I choose to vote early? Well, it's a pretty similar process to voting on Election Day. Before each election, Florida counties must perform what's called a logic and accuracy test. It's a test that is open to the public to make sure that the ballots are printed correctly and that the votes are counted correctly. Now, that test starts at least 25 days before early voting begins to ensure it's done. That way, the early voting ballots can be processed as soon as they are received and counted, but the results are kept secret until Election Day. But what happens to my ballot results? Where do they go? Well, according to Campaign Legal Center, once your vote is cast, canvassing begins. It's the process in which election officials count all of the tallies from the different polling centers of an area and create one single vote for the area. This happens both at the local and state level. So as local officials are trying to get those totals, they are also releasing unofficial results. It's the numbers that local news stations like ours across the country tell you on election night. Now, those numbers change as more ballots get counted throughout the night and sometimes even into the next day. Okay, so you might understand what happens to your results, but what happens to your ballot? After those results are read, the election officials in your area must keep all ballots for at least 22 months after the election. That way, in a case of a recount, all of the voted ballots can be rescanned and recounted. But how is it ensured that my ballot is scanned accurately? Well, there's a system of checks and balances to ensure that the voting systems in place are secure. According to Florida's Supervisor of Elections, there is a process called trusted build. It means that the voting systems used in Florida must first be tested and approved by the Florida Secretary of State's office before a county supervisor of elections office can purchase and use the system. And before it's used, the system's software and firmware have to be certified by the U.S. Election Assistance Commission. After that, the state will test the system's security, safeguards, data encryption, and make sure it accurately counts votes. Also, all members of this testing and certification team must pass a level 2 criminal background check. Now, right now, Florida uses these two certified voting systems, and if new ones ever get approved, all of the information is public online so that voters know exactly what's being used. Now, if you'd like to learn more about certain amendments or have any questions leading up to Election Day, we've got the answers right here on NBC6.